Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours.
Inside here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love.
Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. 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 Yeah. 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 Memories. Memories.
The best laid plans are the ones that change, and today's plan has changed. Instead of being in the EU GM tier, that got forfeited, and we'll be flying our way into the open tier, where very graciously they have paused their game for us to jump into. We have C2W versus Zero Recall.
Yeah, so unfortunate that GM matchup did end up being a forfeit. So unfortunately, Giga Impact not able to make the playtime here. But fortunate that we get to move on up to that higher bracket and get to see CTW and Zero Recall on the broadcast here. Zero Recall trying to hand C2W their first loss here, as C2W have not even dropped a map so far.
Yes, and C2W are in a place where if they make this a clean sweep, a 3-0, they are first place in this group. But let's not let the players pause too long. Let's jump into the game, and we are in the middle of things. So as we all get a grasp in this, we are in Ilios, of course. We knew that would be the map. Wrecking Ball composition here from C2W. Jerry is on the cat as well. Vega also. Zero Recall going for more of a Muga style there. As Magnesium going to fall, Vega actually finds Elo as well. Zero Recall, they look like they are going to be keeping control of the point here.
All right, a little bit of a hang around here for Nitrogen. He's going to find his way out there, but Zero Recall have some big ultimates here to try and hold on to this point. Now, it is going to be the Deadeye ready to go here from Mio, and that duplicate ready from the Echo here. Gonna be hard to kind of find the value for Nitrogen when you're going up against this Cassidy.
Jerry going so low, just about stays alive, but Tupa does not. Mio gets absolutely steamrolled on the M4 there, and Zero Recall are again needing to back up as C2W just very quickly take control back.
Yeah, and that fast pace is so important here when you have this Wrecking Ball composition, even though Zero Recall had the ultimates to work with to try and hold on to that because of the tempo that was put forward by CTW. No time to use those ults here as it is going to be the opening pick here for Zero Recall, so they're looking to punch back into this real quick as well.
Yeah, if they're non-gone, you don't have those stickies and those dives. You don't have the burst damage or the beam. So you do have to play a little bit more careful. Those mines just set to slow things down here. You do see Vateful on the sidelines. Oh, there goes Elo. That pesky cat throwing things off the shelf yet again. As the eliminations stroll in. They try and get the tank. They do just about at the end of that one. So there could be a very quick retouch.
All right, yeah, and this is good percentage here on the board for both teams, but Zero Recall getting the lead here, and those 4 ultimates aside from the Catnapper ready to go here. C2W have things to work with to come into it, but Zero Recall have this positional advantage.
Nitrogen gets gassed out early, and that's going to be very tough. The window does come up, providing some space here. Faithful finds the non again, however, and that cage is going to be the final battle in the UFC tournament here. 95% on the board. There is going to be a touch from Nitrogen likely, but it's about actually turning that around into an elimination, into something that's a little bit more substantial here. High Noon opens just to give a little bit more ammo. Nitrogen will fall, and that pretty much will call the end of it, as Elo cannot get much done with their overclock. Even this copy onto the Mauga is not going to be able to touch the point, and Zero Recall open Ilios with a point in their favor.
Definitely good spot for them to be here, where they are trying to win out at least a 1 map. We were talking a little bit before we headed in here, Gio, is that right now Zero Recall, I mean, if you can get the win against CTW, that is absolutely massive. But honestly, you just want to drag it out, make it as hard as possible here for CTW to take this win if they do get it. So far starting off on the right foot if you're Zero Recall. We are going to head over to Lighthouse for point number 2. I have to think that the composition that C2W is running here with this Wrecking Ball going to have a little bit easier of a time now that it's a much more open space, lots of high ground to control. You're going to see the Symmetras out from both teams just to get that TP, and then it's straight back on over to the Echo here. So if you're Zero Recall with this Cassidy, with this Mauga, you're probably going to look to try and force the point a little bit more than what C2W is, where they're going to look to really just kind of control the angles and make it as hard as possible to take any space here.
And you see Elo already doing that on that high ground, just threatening to build up that railgun and take someone's head off. Nitrogen is getting a little bit too down and dirty. Those stickies are going to take them down, as Tupa Crunch also takes down Anon. Anon find himself out of these fights early very often. Needs to be careful of their positioning when they're up against this team, because they're a feisty bunch.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Oh, the cat taken out of the sky here. So this is good position for Zero Recall to be in. You have a much more stationary composition here, so you're going to have a little bit easier of a time when you are on this defending side of things here. But you are going to want to rotate and try to get control of this high ground, because like we saw already from C2W, it is going to be a lot of these angles being controlled. Elo is going to move over onto the Cassidy here, so at least you don't have to worry about the high ground being controlled by a Sojourn with a railgun.
Again, you see Nitrogen just trying to do their best to create some space here. Actually get Scuggin out of it. Nitrogen also finishing off the tank there. Nice and patient plays there, where that's worked a lot better for them so far than these very, fast, frisky fights where the chaos has leaned on the way of Zero Recall.
That's a really good point. I think that C2W with this comp really needs that little bit of time to kind of develop those angles and really find all of the damage that's coming in. The Mauga going to have a lot of frontline presence here, but of course, isn't going to really be able to sustain through damage from, 5 different angles here from C2W, and lots of ults coming online here. This duplicate going to be ready to go. Nitrogen's going to have the mines as well, going to be fantastic at controlling space, but I'm really looking at Vega with this Catnapper. We've seen these cats drop people off the map constantly.
And as well, both Noons are ready, and of course the cat could take a Noon and turn it into something really spicy. but Vega has fallen as well. The non-finding Mio, and that's the reset there from Tupa. And yeah, C2W, nice slow fight, good in their favor because they had the percentage the whole time.
Yep, good patience for sure, and you can see C2W are getting themselves set up on this high ground as well. The mine's still ready to go here for Nitrogen. Looks like Neon did commit that duplicate there, but otherwise C2W in a very good spot to hold things here. Zero Recall have the ults to work with, and there's that highest noon you were looking for.
Ooh, bye Jerry, bye hello. More like bye-bye instead of hello. And Neon is also going to follow, just about stays alive. The healing of Magnesium, just about staying there. Magnesium, a very good extra vitamin if you're deficient in it. But they will be deficient in life, as they'll be going back to spawn now.
It's all about these combos here, and yeah, to see the high noon being carried through the sky, absolutely terrifying here. C2W, though, didn't have a chance to use any ultimates in that fight, so still gonna have stuff to work with here, but Zero Recall are doing a fantastic job getting value from just that one ultimate. So with this cage fight coming online here for Zero Recall, it's gonna be tricky for C2W to win this next fight. You might want to look to take a dry one and go next.
Oh, Vega just doing their best to keep Mio alive there. And those Cassies getting onto that high ground. You usually only see that when there is a Symmetra. The cat changing the game completely. Mines in the cage, making it deadly even for the Mauga themselves. But the elimination's coming through here as they are going to turn it in their favor. And it's 80% to 80%. This could be the final fight here on this sub-map.
I'm thinking the exact same thing, Geo. C2W looking to tie things up on Ilios. Want to force us over on to Ruins. Zero Recall, though, again, fantastic job with this ult economy. Still going to have both those support ults and this duplicate ready to go. So it's going to be duplicate v duplicate here. Jerry has this catnapper, though, so you could just drop Tupac off the map.
Yeah, that was very, very quick of a dive. Faithful thankfully just loses their duplicate to keep himself alive. Dragged off of the map is Tupac, and they are gone. Zero Recall have this one in the bag here to secure it and turn it around. They do just need to touch the point. Oh no.
Point was not touched, I fear. But big for C2W tying us up here. It is definitely a lot of back and forth, though. We're only, okay, we're only 2 points into this series so far, but it feels like if a team is going to be able to take some maps off of C2W, Zero Recall are locked in and very much looking to be the team that does that. As this Mauga composition really doing a great job controlling, as we do have a bit of a request for pause coming through on Ruins here, but just looking at the comps that are coming through, I fear we might have an AFK admin.
They are begging for a pause, begging for
there
it.
We go.
Okay, turns out it's our observer. Okay, that's fair.
Sorry. Sometimes you forget the power that you have when you're observing.
So locked in on those angles, so locked in. Okay, right. So CTW have kind of equalized this Zero Recall, pushed them to the edge here. In terms of the bans, I know it's mostly kind of like guesswork right now, since we don't actually know what the bans are. But you made a point that it does look like it's going to be probably Lucio, potentially Tracer.
That's my thoughts. Like, definitely I have been seeing Lucio get banned out on control maps a lot more, and although the Jetpack Cat has been seeing a little bit more playtime, for me, I have mostly only been seeing that when the Lucio is getting banned out. That Lucio Kiriko backline is still very, very powerful. The survivability is incredible. Jetpack Cat does have a lot of mobility to try and go for those, survive, but you aren't able to withstand kind of pressure in the same way that a Lucio is. So if you get caught out and you aren't able to just run away, I feel like the cat does get punished really hard here. And then the Tracer, I think ever since she got the projectile increase in the most latest patch, where she did lose a little bit of damage, but that increased projectile does seem to make it much, much harder to fight her on those flanks because the headshots come through a lot easier. So that's just speculation on my part, but it could potentially be that Lucio and Tracer ban for map 1.
Yeah, because Echo's not something you see regularly, and to see a mirror of it kind of, it tells a story, doesn't it? And Nanon doesn't seem to be as comfortable on the character. It also could just be that the pressure from the opposing team is enough for them to not be able to do what they want to do. But when you have Cassidy's being put in positions by Jetpack Cats that they shouldn't be in, and you still have the opposing Echo bearing down on you, it doesn't exactly make the job very easy, does it?
No, definitely not. And I think that we are seeing, we see a really fantastic job being done here by Zero Recall to combo some of these ultimates with that Jetpack Cat. And I think that the fights that Zero Recall are decisively winning, okay, well, Vateful just giving me a little hint here that no, it's not the Tracer that was banned out. So I at least know that little speculation was wrong here. So we are going to get to see the Tracer instead of that Echo here. So a little bit of a swap up for Zero Recall as we head into Ruins.
Yeah, it does mean that Nanon is going to have a little bit of an easier time. He still has to be careful of Mio, and of course, once they don't have Flight Vateful following up on them when they're low HP, but they don't have someone contesting them in the air other than Jetpack Cat, and you just see them staging here, looking to try and displace that small amount of displacement onto either 2-pack or onto one of the squishies. But they do go a little bit low in terms of health. They can't quite commit, and then finds himself at the bad end of the Peacemaker as Mio finds himself like Arthur Morgan here in the state of Lemoyne.
I didn't get this reference, but I love it. It is going to be Zero Recall that gets control of the point here, and we do have the bans figured out as well. So, I mean, I was way, way off here. It is the Diva and the Freya that have been banned out here. So we're just getting the natural cat here on Lucio. You love to see it. Vateful is going to have the Pulse Bomb coming online here, but otherwise it seems Zero Recall have been winning out these fights so decisively. They haven't really had an opportunity to build up anything else to work with.
And again, C2W find himself in this exact same position where they're just waiting for displacement, but there it is, Vateful, just waiting for the flight to be done for Nanon to follow up on them being low health, and that is just the beginning of the avalanche that just takes them away.
Yep, that is it. Above 50% here for Zero Recall now, and C2W getting regrouped here. That High Noon is going to be available here for LO, and there's not as much cover here on Ruins to hide behind. Oh, Tupac getting out just in time there.
Yeah, it's Pack a Punch in a very precarious position, but there's a little bit of a flying High Noon to the face of the cat. We might need to get Peter involved with that one. And LO finishes it off as finally C2W, with only the use of High Noon, are able to regain the point.
This might just be the direction that the meta is heading in. You just are playing to build up this High Noon, and then you just take a trip through the skies. Definitely map geometry plays a very, very important role in this, but you can see that as soon as that High Noon is in the sky, Zero Recall is not peeking at trying to take the cat down. It's all about just hiding there. So if Jerry can find you, you are definitely in danger here. It's going to be a Deadeye in the sky.
And that bubble perk just about saves Nitrogen, as they absolutely got wiped out if not for it. Although Mio finds himself so far forward, they're just going to get taken out. There goes the cat trying to pull someone off the map. Nitrogen, though, finding people with those bombs. Jerry claws out, takes down to Pack a Punch, and they clean up here, but they have lost the point. Oh, okay. Sure.
I guess Zero Recall will take 3% there. Good job, Scuggin, to, find a little bit more here. It is going to be a quick flip over, though. C2W setting themselves up on these angles again. We saw them do a great job on Lighthouse to control all those angles, and it put so much pressure onto Tupaka on this Mauga that it really did force out a lot of those cooldowns early. So Zero Recall gonna have to find their way in. That's a good start to open the door.
Nitrogen had a big slam in, but did not have any way to get out. That Fan the Hammer doing work. Oh, Vega is going to go down as the Flying Noon is at it again. The absolute shenanigans going on here of Jetpack Cat. Yeah, I think Overwatch is back.
I also am feeling that. This High Noon combo is so fun, but it's also so fascinating to me that everybody just hides from it. This is not like the Junkrat tire where everybody will maybe lock in, try to shoot at it. This is very much just to avoid it, and if you die, that's too bad for you. As 95% here, C2W are looking to close out Ilios here. Zero Recall, though, do have some ults to work with, and they trigger the overtime.
Zero Recall, if they want to take a map, this might be the closest they get. C2W looking to continue to be undefeated in both map pool and in the games. But Zero Recall, lots of ultimates here. There's the cat dragging nitrogen, but just like a clay pigeon out of the sky gets shot. Faithful with the pulse as well. Faithful working so hard here on the side of Zero Recall. They might just have done it. I don't think there's a retouch here. Have Zero Recall taken the first map from C2W as the percentages go down? They have! They have! There goes C2W's chances of being number 1 in the standings, and uh-oh, could this be a major upset?
Look, what a map for us to jump into, Gio, to see the very first map that is lost for C2W here in this season. Fantastic stuff here for Zero Recall. Oh, the highest noons, honestly, from both teams, very, very impressive stuff here, but definitely did feel like this Mauga composition, once Zero Recall were able to avoid a lot of that poke damage that was coming in, it seems like C2W were having a bit harder of a time setting up on those angles and controlling all that space once Fateful moved over onto the Tracer. Not necessarily always showing up in the kill feed, but it's about creating that pressure and denying some of those angles, and that allowed for Tupaka on that Mauga to walk in a little bit easier for Zero Recall.
Yeah, Zero Recall currently standing at 1 and 2 with the map differential of -2. I mean, every map counts, right? And especially at the top, and the fact that that is officially C2W's first lost map of this season of CGL against a team that is bottom 4 when they're top 4. Okay, this is the this is the point in CGL seasons where it's like you get to play your opponents, you get to feel the level of play, and then it's time to experiment, right? We had a massive change partway through this season with 5 new heroes, a whole new world of Overwatch unlaunched onto the season, and it could be that a bottom tier team just is slightly better at a new hero like Jetpack Cat, and that just starts to change the whole thing to their favor.
And it's so exciting. It makes things so interesting here because, like you said, we're at this midway point, right? These teams are fighting for a spot. Well, C2W definitely fighting for a spot to be in that mid-season tournament. And it's a really good point that all of these new heroes that have dropped, 5 new heroes, and then, you know, Vendetta came out fairly recently as well. So there's so much opportunity to go for these experimental compositions right now. And when there's a really big change like this, whether it's one new hero dropping or, you know, we have new maps that end up being added into things, it's all about which team is going to be able to adapt and to, you know, materialize the best kind of composition for these things. And so far, Zero Recall definitely showing a good understanding of that Jetpack Cat. I am interested to see if we're going to get to see any of those other new heroes making an appearance here, because of course there are 4 other new heroes that dropped alongside the Jetpack Cat.
Yeah, I mean, Emery, not super strong, Anran, not super strong, but people are finding strides. Sometimes with Mizuki, a lot of times with Jetpack Cat. Domino very strong, but let's get a gauge of what map we could be going to here today. Obviously, stage 1 map pool hasn't changed. You can choose from any modes, and then obviously the map selection within that mode. If I'm C2W, I want to go to somewhere that's my most comfortable map. I don't want to let this be a mental boom. I want to completely reset and just come back out this, and from their position they want to 3-1 this. They don't want this to get worse and worse for them, because at that top 4 level, every map lost could knock them out of a mid-season or later down the line, the playoffs.
That's right. Every map is going to matter here for them. And just looking at the composition that we got to see over on Ilios, definitely does seem like C2W is more favoring these kind of dive maps. Like I mentioned time and time again, really good at kind of setting up and controlling those angles. So if I'm C2W, I'm probably not going to take us to a hybrid or an escort map right now. Probably going to more lean towards either one of those flashpoint maps or a push map where you can control more space. But what do I know? Circuit Royale, who needs angles? Just click heads.
At the end of the
definitely could be an option here if one of these teams have her in the pool. Now, C2W are going to get to go for the ban first here. I'm interested, are they going to go for another tank ban? I feel like banning out the tank is a very, very good way to really set the tempo of how a fight is going to go. But if you are feeling like you really need to target someone out, that's when you more so go for those kind of damage bans here. So I don't know that we necessarily are going to see a DPS ban come out right away here, where, you know, it's map number 2. Maybe you don't have kind of a good read on who the hard carry is for the side of Zero Recall, but definitely, okay, it is going to be another tank ban coming out here, and it is going to be that Sigma that gets banned out.
Yeah, get rid of the almost staple character for Circuit. In recent seasons of Overwatch, Sigma became not so much a hard pick versus some other choices. Obviously, Domina now you're thinking you could play. I'm not the biggest fan of Domina's kit. I think Domina's only strong right now because the numbers are high enough. I think you place down that stationary barrier and then you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, but high enough numbers damage-wise to kind of offset that at the moment. Are we banning Sigma so we can still play you know, something more kind of dive or a little bit more alternative, or are we kind of angling for Domina?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you really want to force the Wrecking Ball on Circuit Royale, I'm sure that it could be done here, and taking out the Sigma is going to avoid that kind of CC here, but I like the Widow ban coming out here. So often the Widowmaker is kind of favored here on Circuit Royale, and it usually comes down to kind of 2 people that are going to be putting pressure on an opposing Widowmaker. It's either going to be a Widowmaker of your own, or it's going to be that Sigma with the displaceable shield. So with the Sigma out, it definitely did open up a lot of space for a Widowmaker to make an appearance here, and if Zero Recall do not want to take that Widow duel, yeah, just go for the ban.
Yeah, you don't want to get dinked in the head, fair enough, and unless they have a Hanzo up their sleeve, then you're not really going to be in too much of a one-shot territory. Freya definitely seems like the character is going to be the chosen one there in that case. Not too many players have Hanzo up their sleeve anymore after seasons of just not being very good. Still not even the best anyway, but it is now Circuit Royale, and it is on C2W here. They need a nice, strong showing here. They can't play about. We need to see exactly why they're top 14.
Yes, absolutely agree. Definitely want to have a strong showing here. It is going to put a lot of pressure on the DPS here for C2W. Like we mentioned, you know, just click heads. It's a FPS game, and Circuit Royale really does highlight the strengths of those DPS heroes. So it does look like the Wrecking Ball is going to be a component here for C2W on Circuit. Now, I mentioned, you know, you definitely can force it, and I think that having that Sigma taken out of the picture is going to make things a little bit easier, but it's still going to demand some very strong mechanics here from Nitrogen. So you're going to have to play very, very careful, especially Zero Recall. You called it, Geo. Vapeful is going to be over on that Freya. So the burst damage potential between the Freya and the Sojourn here are going to be incredible for Zero Recall. They are going to have Vega and Skagen over on that Wuyong and Baptiste here. So there's a whole lot of damage to be done for this team up against rather glass cannon-like kind of comp coming out for C2W.
Nitrogen again playing Wrecking Ball in the back here, just trying to disrupt those snipers. Emery chosen for Elo. I don't love the choice, but that nade against a more Ramatra team, when they're kind of clumped together, could disrupt enough for Wrecking Ball to follow up and get a slam elimination. You see Nitrogen just playing in this back, looking for that slam, just about almost takes down Mio, but those shots from Fateful, those are going to be the deadly deciders of these fights. Magnesium, however, takes them out. Mio just scrapping with them in the middle as they are able to push the attacking team back.
Yeah, this Discord Orb is going to prove to be very, very difficult here for Tupac Eye, and the sight lines of Circuit are going to make it very difficult to kind of get out of the LOS of the Zen to try and cleanse that Discord Orb here. You can see it is going to be a Discord Orb immediately over onto that Ramatra, just trying to force out these cooldowns early in the fight.
Discord Orb, like you say, going to be so pivotal here, and that's why Mio just decided, let's get the Monk off the map. Jerry back to spawn, Nitrogen flying overhead there, looking for a slam right onto Vateful, but the healing is there. That burst healing of the wave from Vega still available as they're on the Wu Yang. They're not going to play with this window. They don't really want to be taking a mega amount of damage, so they're just going to take a little breather here.
It's good patience. That window does buy time for Jerry to get back into the fight here, though. So that Discord Orb, once again, going to be online. Both DPS ults ready to go here for Zero Recall, but Chewbacca Punch falls solo. Manages to stay alive, though.
The Monk gets bullied again. Welcome back to the fight, Jerry. Bye, Jerry. Mio takes Magnesium down. No supports now for the defending side as the Nitrogen falls. That bubble gets popped. They will secure first point. Zero Recall walking forward, and they still have both support ults here if they want to try and continue to snowball.
Yeah, I'm thinking the exact same. Ooh, oh, you just have Vateful just, hit the shots. That's also going to be a fantastic way to snowball a little bit here. Nitrogen is back into the fight, has these mines, which is going to be good at kind of slowing down this tempo, and actually manages to catch Chewbacca out on a little bit of an angle there.
Just stay alive, just realizes that, uh-oh, I could be dead here. Backs up, rotates round to the rest of the team. And of course, you could just send Chewbacca Punch in with that tidal wave there. Mio is going to fall there to the beam of Nanon as the mines come out from Nitrogen, just disrupting enough. Nanon really working overtime here on the Echo. Chewbacca Punch takes down Magnesium, but Nanon continues to be the chimney sweep of the team, getting rid of all the players here like they are the remnants of coal.
Ooh, okay, we are going to have an auto pause come through, so that usually means that there's a DC that comes through. Or maybe where we don't have a DC, who knows, little Blizzard things, small indie company, but it is going to be C2W that are in control of this spot right now, and I think that getting the stabilization where they are on the second point of circuit is going to be very beneficial from them. First point is very, very hard for the Wrecking Ball. I think that most of Circuit Royale is going to be trouble here for the ball, but definitely now that you have a little bit of high ground to kind of work with on this second point, you're going to have an easier time kind of getting those pile drives, and we're seeing Ninon on that Echo do a really fantastic job of kind of follow up on that CC. You're either getting the sticky nades out, or you're using that focusing beam to really just melt down any of those targets that are unlucky enough to get caught in that Wrecking Ball slam.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a perfect hero to follow up on what Wrecking Ball gets done, and the fact that Wrecking Ball can, in modern times, grapple up once they've grappled onto something, it does make it so that these very, very tall buildings on this map are so useful to them, and Vateful just gets eviscerated, taken off completely, and now the attacking team of Zero Recall have to decide, okay, let's not invest anything here, let's just back up. In fact, Immortality Field there means that they could continue to get pressed here, and Nitrogen does find the Baptiste, and this is just a horrible, horrible loss of life here, just ticking away the time.
Yeah, it's all about buying this time, getting the stagger kills. C2W are finding the exact picks that they were looking for here, and because they're moving so quickly in these fights, they aren't having to commit any ultimates. Nitrogen's doing a fantastic job, and unfortunately, Vateful over on that Tracer gets sent back to the spawn to think about the swap, and it is going to just more time here for Zero Recall to sit and wait, and as they sit and wait, C2W are getting themselves set up on this high ground again. Ninon is in the corner on the Echo and has that duplicate ready to go.
Another thing to know is the wave healing of that Wu Yang can affect you if you're in the air after getting pile drived. So that's something that is off the board for when someone's up in the air. Jerry's going to take Mio down, and this copy on to the Ramatra is going to be a very threatening march of pain as Nanon just continues to walk down the remaining members of Zero Recall, and they've only used the one ultimate.
Yeah, very easy fight win there for C2W, and this second point of circuit is going to be so tricky here when that Sigma is banned out. Typically, you would have the Sig put the shield up so that high ground angle is taken care of here, but oh, Vega over onto the cat just for the flying noon.
It doesn't quite get anything, but the Immortality Field is pulled. Elo and Magnesium do go down. Vateful doesn't have the chance to use that Pulse Bomb as Mio just tries to force away the Wrecking Ball, use the ability of the Fan, the Hammer, and the Nade to their advantage when Nitrogen catches them out once the cooldowns are gone. And Zero Recall, they seem to be perhaps spiraling.
I have to agree with you, Gio. Tupaka committed that Annihilation kind of in the back line away from everybody else from Zero Recall. Now, there is going to be a swap that comes through. I like these changes. Not a whole lot of time to work with, though. 35 seconds on the clock. But having this speed, having this aggression, this is all going to be about collapsing onto Jerry and Magnesium. You need to find the kills onto these supports.
Ooh, but there goes that utility of the speed as the Stickies find Vega, Nanon in their absolute element. This is a jungle gym of a point for a Wrecking Ball and for an Echo, and we are seeing it right now as the extremely aggressive OC is just like, no, we're not going to let you regroup to try and touch the point. We're going to make it so that the point is in such an awkward spot, so that when we attack, we're at such an advantage.
Yeah, that's a stellar defense here on second point. I'm pretty sure that Zero Recall had 4+ minutes there as they capped that first point, moved into second, and C2W just did such a good job kind of handling that high ground, setting up the angles, despite when we came into circuit, I mentioned, there's not that many angles to typically work with, but, you mentioned it, there's all these buildings to kind of navigate around. You can have your Echo kind of hiding out in a corner, Nitrogen comes in for the slam, and then you're met with all that damage from the Echo as well. So C2W, I mean, the Wrecking Ball composition is very impressive on circuit. More impressive to be able to run it on the defense here. I think that now that they're on the offense, they're going to have probably even easier time running this comp. And I mean, they do still have an opportunity to change some things around. So looking over towards the defense here, I mean, Gio, this is a big change here for Zero Recall.
Yeah, we have the Hashimoto backline. We've got the Domina. So 2 of the new heroes are here, and the Bastion from Mio. It's going to, yeah, that's what I thought. I think that Bastion was going to get all of the stickies landed on them and disappear forever. So I think Mio, this is an interesting composition. Very high damage, not super sustainy, however.
And you mentioned it about the Domina, is that it's just a stationary tank here, and C2W are coming out with lots of mobility between Nitrogen and Ninox. So you're going to have to see a lot of burst damage come out very early here from Zero Recall, but it's going to be hard to find that because C2W just moves so quickly.
Yeah, Nitrogen already in the backline, threatening Mio, threatening the backline. And you see that it's the attention economy of a Wrecking Ball player to just do this and already force them around the corner. Big slam onto 3 of them. Threatens the life of all 3 players. Domina 1 HP in there to pack a punch. Gets to pack a punch in that room and it takes out Nitrogen with the help of the backline there. And they're just going to have to back up and think this attack again.
I actually quite like that disengage there from Zero Recall. I do think that maybe a little bit of too much attention given to Nitrogen, but once that slam came through, everybody from Zero Recall kind of grouped up in the shop there, and that's where the Wrecking Ball is going to have a very, very hard time finding that value here. So you got to just think really hard about your positioning here if you're Zero Recall.
Well, Nitrogen has come back with an absolute anger in the eyes. Vengeance is the main course of this meal. To Pack a Punch sent violently back to spawn, and you see the golden rectangle of where that payload needs to go. It's not very far into second point, and Nitrogen's in third point. And meanwhile, Vega is getting just shot down. C2W just have this in the bag right now.
Yeah, this is definitely looking like C2W are making strides here to tie us up in the series. They're still up on this high ground, still forcing Zero Recall back to spawn.
Yeah, and they can just do that. And the fact that they had a dominant there, someone's caught in the back.
I think it might be Skuggan. The Kiriko kind of caught out here. I mean, now there is just one person pushing the bot here, and it's Jerry, so at least you don't have to worry about the Discord orb being up here, but you do have the rest of Zero Recall all up here forcing this space.
the mine's right out the spawn. That is just disrespectful. Meal will fall. Yeah, Nitrogen and the rest of C2W showing why Wrecking Ball loves Circuit Royale. Wow, yeah, that was C2W in their absolute element. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason they are where they are in the standings. And the more we see this play, the more I think, what went so wrong on Ilios?
Yeah, I have to wonder this as well. This comp that C2W is running, it really does seem like it should be kind of favored more so on those control maps here. They made it look really, really good on Circuit, but definitely think that Zero Recall did a better job of kind of not getting split by those angles, of playing their positioning a little bit better here. But once they kind of get disrupted and they really allow the chaos that C2W is sowing to take over, it feels like this Wrecking Ball composition is really just thriving on picking apart those members of Zero Recall that get forced out into the random little corners of Circuit Royale. So I think Zero Recall are really going to have to just kind of pull together. They're looking to run a very strong composition. They just need to look to really focus it in a little bit. You can't be worried about the Wrecking Ball all the time. It needs to be more focused onto those stationary targets of C2W.
Yeah, and perhaps we just gotta play the exact comp we were playing on Ilios. Like, we saw them briefly come back onto the Mauga. I think their defensive setup was either what they had planned already, or perhaps that's just they were reacting. Maybe this would be enough damage, but Nitrogen, just at a certain point, like we've mentioned, Domina, what's she gonna do? Push the ball once, like get away, please. The ball's gonna come back. it's not as good as an accretion, which is obviously why Sigma got banned. And C2W, I think, really showed why that Sigma ban was such a good choice from them.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? The accretion is going to give you that longer stun where you can have everybody kind of focus down the tank here. But yeah, not having that on the board, it was a very smart ban coming out from C2W. Now, Zero Recall are going to be in control of what map that we're going to go to for the third map here, and I have to wonder if you are going to also want to maybe use a Wrecking Ball ban at some point. Now, of course, they're only going to be able to use that ban one time in the series, so you really do need to make sure, if you're going to go for that heavy-hitting target ban, that you're going to need it to use it at a very specific moment here, and where it's not a match point just yet, it might not be time. So you have to think about, first, what map is it going to be? Are you going to take C2W to a map where it's going to be tricky to run that Wrecking Ball comp? Because they may have just proven that, honestly, there is no map that they can't run this Wrecking Ball on. So maybe you need to look a little bit more towards empowering your own composition here. So we saw that Mauga comp work well for them on Ilios. So it's a matter of, are you going to be able to find a map where you can use that Mauga comp in the same way again?
Yeah, playing into your strengths, I absolutely agree. And what I have found in the past sometimes in a ban mode, where if you scout a team and you see them play a certain character very well, it's very easy to think, oh, we'll ban the character then, and then they can't play the character very well. But you've just scouted them play that character, and you don't know what they're going to play instead, so now they play a mystery hero, and you're at a loss because you don't know what's happening. That happens to us in our Master games. Obviously, these players are in the open division, so they actually have hands to play the games with, compared to me. So that might not be the case. You know, just get rid of the Wrecking Ball and bring it into a bit more of a standardized comp. Perhaps they play the Diva instead. Which is probably the most likely candidate if you want to keep the dive. If they want to maybe throw in a Winston, the new movement speed perk maybe has revived the monkey. We haven't seen too much of it, but I'm just hoping that we can maybe see some monkeys. So that's just my hopium talking for me.
We all need a little bit of hopium here. All right, well, we are going to take a look at the hero bans first here. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell y'all, but we do know that we're going to a Flashpoint map, so we can keep that in mind as we look at these hero bans here. So for Zero Recall, like we mentioned, It's gonna be New Junk City. Prod's like, no, it's okay, Rain. You don't have to keep it a secret. I don't know. What are you thinking? Yeah, New Junk City.
Giving away government secrets.
Yeah, you know, hey, I don't wanna start anything here. Yeah, New Junk City. I like this for the third map. Ooh, Echo Ban coming out as well, and this makes sense because on Control, where it's very similar to a Flashpoint map, it was that Echo kind of mirror that came out here. So C2W not going to be able to work with that hero for this one.
Yeah, and now on the opposite end, do they ban the Mauga? Do they ban the Jetpack Cat? Things that have worked in the favor of Zero. And I like Zero's idea of not banning the Wrecking Ball, but banning a character that is adjacent to it, because it means they'll still be playing what they want, but just not quite to the same setup, and that small change could create mistakes on the side of C2W, and mistakes are opportunities.
Yeah, it's a good point. You know, stick with the devil that you know. If you have the Wrecking Ball and you know you're going to be up against it, this is where you can kind of adjust to it. Banning out the Echo does, of course, mean that the DPS role is going to be protected, but it is a third tank ban coming out here from C2W. They are going to be taking that Mauga off the field, so this is what we saw work really well for Zero Recall out on Ilios, but you gave it a quick shout out there, is that Diva was banned out on Ilios, and of course not going to be banned anymore here. And Diva is going to be a fantastic tank to try and peel for those targets that get caught up in the slam from the Wrecking Ball. So potentially we could see Zero Recall move over onto that instead.
Yeah, we haven't seen it from them yet, but obviously Diva was banned on Ilios. You could have argued that on attack they could have pulled out Diva on their attack when they got stuck in that second point rut, to help them get a little bit more movement speed. They're a little bit too glued to the Ramatra idea. Then they pulled out the Mauga eventually. But yeah, removing Mauga means you can't fall back to the two miniguns, the two hearts. You have to just dive right in. And of course, the government secret map, New Junk City, will be where we're going to. But of course, even though it's our third map, this will not decide it. It's 1-1 in the series. So Zero Recall, they want to say, it's not a fluke. We can take another map from you.
Ooh, and maybe the Winston going to be part of that map win here for Zero Recall. Now, I don't think that I would expect to see, of all the places to see the Winston pop up first, I don't think that New Junk City would have been my guess, but if Zero Recall is anticipating that this Wrecking Ball is going to come through, you can play the dive game as well, just have a hyper mobile composition, but no, it's not going to be the monkey on New Junk City. Tupaka is going to move over on to that Ramatra. It is going to be this Lucio Kiriko backline, so Tupaka's going to have a much better backline for backing up and going for these rushes compared to what we saw on Circuit Royale. And then it's going to be the Old Faithful, a Tracer, and Sojourn here. So it is going to be really just the differences in these tanks here for the two teams.
Yeah, Wrecking Ball is going to have a lot to cling on to spin and dive into the team. Zero Recall, they need to be careful that they're not just caught in an endless rotation trying to catch people that are not quite catchable. And right now they're doing the old Tom and Jerry, but they have caught Jerry. Magnesium goes down, Tobacco Punch punches out a low, and now they have caught them. They'll be able to swing onto point here, stop this cap, and get a cap of their own.
Fantastic stuff from Zero Recall. They did exactly what they needed to. They waited out all of the movement cooldowns that they could, and then they ignored Nitrogen on this Wrecking Ball. There's going to be so much more mobility here for Zero Recall to get away from this Wrecking Ball, but the point has not flipped over yet, and the mobility from the side of C2W is going to allow them to come back into things very, very quickly.
Yeah, Vega going down is a horrendous first pick for Zero Recall. You don't have the speed to keep Tupac Punch in the fight, and it means you don't have the peel of the boop. As you see, Mio will go down on the dive as well. Now they've slowed things down in terms of the pace. They know they can't be speeding around. They don't have the Lucio back yet, but the Lucio will be just around back. Now Magnesium at threat of getting taken out, and Vateful with a nice spread there on the Tracer, 50% on the board. Nitrogen finds Vega again, however, continuing to target the speed, but they can't dive the Ramatra, otherwise they get punched out. You just see them at a stalemate.
Yeah, exactly. C2W are having a very hard time breaking into this point. Zero Recall are going to have some mines spread all over the point behind them, though, so it's a good opportunity here for C2W to open this door.
Tobacco Punch does go down, and Mines cutting them off. And of course, the Mines is going to be able to be the one that kind of disrupts that pattern and takes out the Ramatra, splitting them up from the rest of the team. And with 99% control for Zero Recall, C2W have control. It's going to be a lot more difficult for Zero Recall unless they just go right onto a point here to swap this over.
I'm thinking the exact same thing. Vateful on this Tracer does have the potential to just go put some pressure on the point. It's going to force somebody from C2W to turn around here. Zero Recall do have a lot more staying presence once they find their way onto the point, and you called it, Gio. It is going to be the rotation actually under as they just force a fight on point.
Yeah, and that Kitsune Rush is going to cement it, but of course they're able to just touch and get out, especially with the extra health of the beat. But Vega with the second beat, typically the stronger one, means Zero Recall can now burst out of this encampment and deal some damage. They've swapped the point, but without the beat, they have to survive Illo's overclock. Illo went solo there, was kept up. Tobacco Punch forced to just block, forced to be passive. Vega gets hit with the pulse bomb, so they're not in it, and C2W aptly keep control by just keeping a small touch on the point every now and again.
Yep, that's exactly how you need to do it between Nitrogen and Neon being able to keep that over in their favor. Zero Recall just got way too split in that fight. If you're playing around this Ramatra, it really does need to be a little bit more stacked, and as soon as they find themselves split, it's C2W capitalizing on those splits.
And as a very aggressive Kitsune Rush, you see Tobacco Punch completely caught out, and a bunch of flies are around them, just trying to take them down. Can't quite fight against it when you're alone. Vateful unable to keep that point alive, so the first point will go in the favor of C2W after a slightly rocky start.
That's right. Yeah, 99 to 100 here. Zero Recall have made the swap of Vega over on to this Mizuki here, so that chain is going to allow for that momentary CC. I expect to see that used probably either on Neon or on Nitrogen, so Zero Recall are going to have to be very, very quick about following up on that CC.
And there's the mine, spin them up again, and that's that team unable to help Tobacco Punch as Tobacco Punch gets sent back. Down with the ray gun, no one to revive, and now they can't push in, so CW will strive.
Yeah, and this is big here for C2W to gain control of this phase, deny Zero Recall any touch on the point where they are going to have that little bit of strength in numbers and stability. Tobacco Punch moving over on to the Hazard now, so trying to find an answer to this composition that C2W is putting out, but he's just being met with damage.
Someone called corner, Hazard's in play, and yeah, okay, that didn't quite last too long, but Magnesium does go down to Vateful. Vateful is showing that they're very strong on the Tracer when they're not getting clotheslined by a railgun shot to the head. Nitrogen just being a constant pain in the backside there, and Vateful, though, continues to be the one opening the door for Zero Recall as the Scottish tank of Hazard does get back. That wall can be disruptive of the Wrecking Ball, so it's all about that wall placement here for Tobacco Punch, as it's all Vateful who gets them back into this point. What a superstar performance on the Tracer so far. There's an ultimate actually used by Illo from C2W because they want to try and keep it alive. They have taken Scuggin out, but Vateful again takes down Magnesium. There is nothing that Vateful cannot do.
It's really interesting to see the Tracer actually more or less being the one to create the space here for Zero Recall to walk in. Usually we're seeing the tank being the one to do that, but this Tracer being just enough of a nuisance that C2W have to commit resources in here. The mines are committed though, so Zero Recall need to find some way to touch this point.
Overclock is used, but Nitrogen just trying to disrupt as much as possible. Mio does get taken out. Not enough support, not enough resources put into them there. And now you see the side of Zero Recall just hiding in this corner. They do have that ultimate up from the Mizuki. You can't fire into that, lots of healing from it, and that means Nitrogen cannot get healed by those Ofuda from Scuggin. But again, they can just keep themselves on the point. So much movement, so much sustain, because their tank Nitrogen can be back at any point here. Already back, Suzu used. Tobacco Punch could be in danger here, but coming up to the downpour, And, well, I'm used to downpour here in Scotland myself, but I don't think Nitrogen will be. Takes them out before it can be used against them. And my god, what a long-lasting fight. But it will be C2W holding on and getting the point.
It's so rough for Zero Recall. Each point so far, they've been so close to being able to hold on to get to that 100%, to put a point on the board here on New Junk City. But C2W have been thriving in these scrappy fights, despite some really impressive attempts, honestly, from Vateful over on this Tracer. C2W are just doing a little bit better of a job and really capitalizing on these split-off targets as a team. Vateful is winning out those 1v1s, but when C2W are able to find a target that's alone, capitalize on it between Neon and Nitrogen, Zero Recall are just getting picked apart here, and it is going to be Refinery, our next point, and already C2W are setting themselves up on this point.
That downpour can be so deadly onto so many of these characters. Even if it catches just one, it could be enough to turn the tide here. But Elo gets caught by it. It's going to go down to Mio as they spot it there, and Hazard just fighting into this Kitsune rush. Doesn't really have a choice, slashes the back of the Tracer there. Mines now, going to make it much harder for the side of Zero Recall to play into this one, as Mio is just tearing house now. Both DPS of Zero Recall are proving that they have it in them to put the team on their back.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Mio really did come alive in that fight. You can see a whole lot of assists as well, but yeah, definitely between Mio and Vateful, they are pulling Zero Recall back into this. Now, it is going to be some ultimates coming online. Of course, those DPS ults from Zero Recall, from all the work that they have been doing, but C2W are going to have both those DPS ultimates as well. We've seen both of these Tracers get pretty good value from the Pulse Bombs here, so it's all about trying to force out one of those Kiriko cooldowns before you go in for that stick.
Yeah, they're so well aware that overclock is ready. Nitrogen was there to try and block it, but the first one's going to come up from Elo. The double slide to get behind Mio, and that is devastating. What brilliant position here from Elo to get the most out of their ultimate.
You love to see a team kill off the back of one ult here for C2W. Now, 45% on the board. Nothing to, shake a stick at if you're Zero Recall. At least it's something, but it is going to be C2W in control here. They're going to be able to get the lead here on Refinery, and you can see how much pressure C2W put on Zero Recall. They are not just waiting for Zero Recall to walk into the point. It's about doing that early damage, too.
There is Mio now taking out the two, Neon and Jerry. Mio is just absolutely cleaning house, making it very well known that this point is Zero Recalls, and they have decent ultimates here. Both sides, however, to try and take it or defend it.
It's been so back and forth here, but it's an early pick onto Mio. You have to use the beat if you're Vega. You need a pick right now if you're Zero Recall.
Yeah, and you're so right. They notice that. They go into Elo. They try and equalize. Vega trying to hide, stay alive. 1 HP as Jerry goes down there to the Thorns. Nitrogen just backing up to try and force point. Potentially see if they can take it away. But of course, the team is coming back. Potentially Mines here, because Vega does go down, so there is an opportunity. And it is noticed by Nitrogen, who just ducks the downpour. Umbrellas were up for that one, but Vateful with the Pulse Bomb looking to yet again be the star for Zero Recall to keep this point in their control. That overtime ticker was pixels away from going away, but it's still up. Magnesium takes Vateful out. That carry potential no longer there for Zero Recall, but Mio trying to be just that with the Kitsune rush. There really isn't much else that can be done for C2W. Mio goes down. There is a potential chance for a retouch here of the Tracer. Now Nitrogen going back in. Magnesium does have the Kitsune rush. They could use it here to actually secure it. It's going to be the beat first, however, with the Kitsune rush. Both supports using them now. That Suzu just about keeping alive. Skuggin, who's running, dashing, TPing for their life. They need to stay alive to back up and find Zelo, though. It could just be about back and forth. 95%. This is all over the place.
Yeah, it is going to be a touch coming through from Vateful, and it buys enough time for Dupaka to come back in, takes Magnesium out here. Jerry definitely giving the next target on the list here for Zero Recall. That Lucio falling so low, and there are now no kills on the board for C2W.
X-Lam there as well. Neon goes down just as Pulse Bomb was there. Vega now being that backline carry. Coming up to another BF needed. Nitrogen being chased away like a scolded dog. And finally, Zero Recall get a point on Junk City. My god, are they a scrappy team.
I'm impressed they were able to claw their way back into this. It's going to have to be a little mini reverse sweep here for Zero Recall if they want to pick up this win on New Junk City. We are headed over to the other side of the map here. Zero Recall, very good discipline in their ults there. Now, you did only get the DPS towards the end of this fight, but you are going to have those to work with. The mines, though, from Nitrogen are going to be able to deny a lot of space here for Zero Recall.
And that's what they're bidding on. They've done it time and time again. And that backline is a little bit low. Mio gets the heals though. Does have overclock. Nitrogen on a sliver of health. Need to get their Wrecking Ball healed up so they can get in position. But noticed by Tupac-a-Punch. Like an arc out of nowhere slashing into them. And they are pushing forward here with a nice aggressive sound barrier.
Yeah, Nitrogen just wanted to keep moving, trying to stay alive, but all the while running from his own supports there, and it is going to be Fateful that's able to catch up with that Wrecking Ball. So early percentage being built here for Zero Recall. Did have to commit that sound barrier, but otherwise are going to be 4 ultimates coming on the board for them. Even just we've seen what Mio can get done with this overclock, but it is going to be those mines out from C2W all over that point.
Yeah, Vega's gonna get caught out by them, shot down by Elo, who gets the Suzu to just stay alive, but the follow-up is there enough by Fateful. Jerry, however, taking Suggen out means there's not enough support healing there, not a chance to be using that Kitsune Rush. However, point still in their control right now. Jerry gets bounced back by the spike wall, is a little bit discombobulated compared to their team, getting chased down by Fateful. It's a Mio now with the power up overclock rifle here. Oh, just about misses the shot for the elimination. Oh my god, the healing on the backline, keeping Mio alive against the pressure of Nitrogen, who like a bubble has popped.
Oh my gosh, I love this aggression from Zero Recall, and it's going to be the downpour towards the spawn here, and there is not going to be an overtime touch here from C2W. That was a very impressive bomb flats around here for Zero Recall, so they're building up some momentum here to try and swing New Junk City in their favor. Junkyard going to be the last point here, but Tupac-a-Punch is going to get taken down early, so C2W set themselves up to try and get this early cap. You can see that, yeah, Zero Recall is just backing all the way out here, and with Vega sent back to the spawn, that is pretty much the doors being closed on a first cap here. As that flashpoint opens, it's probably just going to be Jerry sent back to the spawn here, and then C2W are going to go ahead and control this space, making it so hard for Zero Recall to come in for the contest.
I'm trying to be not too patriotic about the fact that it's the hazards that are turning things around for Zero Recall, but there's something in my heart that's shouting, "Go on, my brave heart," but Mio will fall to the pressure from Elo, who are just as in position to be the death bringer to Zero Recall as they just continue to push them. Elo on the sliver of health will finally go down, but it was too damn late.
Yeah, that's going to be C2W holding on to this point. 5 ultimates to make it as hard as possible for Zero Recall to find their way into things here. And it's going to be the Kitsune Rush from Suggen ready to go, but Nitrogen is set up, ready with the mines, but Zero Recall moved so quickly past that choke point.
Yeah, they're not going to deal with them. There's going to round the point with the Kitsune Rush. The mines is going to mess up that advantage that they gave themselves. As you see, Tupac-a-Punch just takes too much damage. Jerry's going to be the one to finish them off. Without that support from a tank, the team is just going to fall apart and peel apart.
And now, above 80% here for C2W. Zero Recall are going to have one more opportunity to try and flip this point over. Not any ults to work with, and not going to have the Tracer for the touch. I don't know that they're even going to get an overtime here.
Well, it has to be the Lucio, but yeah, they just don't have it. Well fought by Zero Recall. They are a scrappy team, but C2W, they didn't let themselves get too taken away by the moment. They kind of pulled themselves in, and in a kind of moment of really good showing of mental control, they kind of coalesce back into what they're good at. And this is that double slide by Elo to get behind and just send that overclock railgun right through the back. Oh, what an outstanding match.
Yeah, really, really close there. 4-0 recall. There were so many opportunities on the first and second flashpoints of New Junk City to try and get some percentage here, to try and get the lead over C2W, but not meant to be. So now it is going to be C2W at that match point here. They just need to win one more map. 0 recall, though. Really great signs of life here. We saw that Hazard make an appearance, and I mean, you know, you're from Scotland, I'm from New Scotland. Maybe we're a little biased towards the Hazard, but definitely did think it was a really, really good look from 0 recall. They were able to get so much more aggressive. The walls that came out really good at splitting C2W, and it felt like 0 recall were kind of playing into the game that C2W was really looking for. C2W always going for those splits, finding 0 recall through the chaos, but when 0 recall were able to fight back with that a little bit, definitely saw some much closer points.
But they do find themselves up against match point here. C2W have the 2 points. So we're going to go to a small break now as we kind of let the teams maybe gather themselves for a moment, and perhaps can 0 recall again prove that it's not a miracle, it wasn't a one-off, and can they take another map. But we'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to the splendid broadcast here in CGL. All the lovely designs, the transitions. You have just seen the email that you can use if you want your tournament to look just as profesh. And also, you know, my Twitter if you want to hear my voice on that. But we are back into this matchup where Zero Recall continue to try and be the thorn in C2W's side. They've already been the first team in this bracket to take a map from them, but they are not stopping there. They were very close to taking New Junk City, and they might just take another map.
Yeah, I hope that Zero Recall is feeling confident despite losing New Junk City there, because definitely did push C2W pretty much to the edge to take New Junk City. It was so close, but Zero Recall is going to be in control of the map pick once again here, and we do know that we are going to be heading over to a a push map. Rain, oh dear. Runasapi is going to be up next here, so this is going to be Zero Recall's final opportunity to stay alive in this series.
Well, yeah, Runasapi, definitely the preferred of the push maps. It's nice that we haven't seen King's Row for a beat, you know, just take a pause on that one, but Runasapi will continue with. This is going to be difficult because we are going to push pretty much C2W, like any of the maps would have worked well for Wrecking Ball. Runasapi is also one of them. However, a little bit more of open fields where potentially you could see the Wrecking Ball coming a bit quicker and therefore deal with them a bit more, unless their plan is to ban.
I really think that with Hybrid being the last map mode that comes after if you're able to win Runasapi here for Zero Recall, this might be the place to ban out the ball. But they've banned DPS the last 3 maps in a row. Interestingly, C2W have also banned out the tank, but yeah, it's time. It is time for that Wrecking Ball ban to come through here. So I think it's a good read here for Zero Recall. You were going to pull it out at some point, and I think that, yeah, between a push map and a hybrid map, ban him out on the push map.
Yeah, this is a great decision. I mean, this is, of all the map types, one where I would be like, yeah, absolutely, this is where we ban ball. I'm so curious to see what C2W bring out instead. I haven't been able to catch any of their other games or know much about them as a team, so I don't know if they have a designated back pocket tank pick or if they're about to throw something at the wall. Well, Tracer just got through off the cliff, as they did not like when Tracer was dealing so much damage to them in New Junk City.
Yeah, Vateful was really pulling Zero Recall back into some of those fights where it did not look like they were going to come out on top. So banning out the Tracer here makes a lot of sense to me for C2W. And yeah, like you mentioned, I'm not too sure what we're going to get to see C2W roll out with on this Wrecking Ball. But I mean, looking at the match history where they've 3-0'd all of the teams that they've played so far, I have to assume that at some point a Wrecking Ball ban came out from them and they still didn't drop a map against any of those teams. So somewhere there is another hero waiting in the wings here to replace our friendly hamster, but it's going to have to be a very impressive showing here. And I do find that sometimes for players where you've been playing the same hero throughout the entire series, it's a pivot to try and move on to another hero, even if you are still really, really strong at that hero. So maybe this is going to be it for Zero Recall to get a map on this series and force that map number 5.
I'm trying to think of other Wrecking Ball players I know, you know, famous EU players like Golden Pants, etc. What do they do when Wrecking Ball's banned? I've seen them play Doomfist. I've seen them just go on to something completely different as well. And I didn't quite expect a swap of the role. Okay. Interesting.
Right? I'm like, okay, yeah, something different from the Wrecking Ball, the Bastion? Yeah, that's real different here, as it is going to be Minon over on the tank here, so it is going to be a pretty, a fairly standard, I would say, composition from C2W. They are going to have that double speed, the Lucio Juno, which we have not seen in quite a while. Usually it's just the Juno speed ring out of spawn and then it's a swap over here, but this is all the eggs in the basket of Nitrogen using this Bastion form to really melt down a member of Zero Recall early in a fight.
This can very easily devolve into Maugo shooting a blocking Ramatra for 2 minutes, where both tanks just kind of catch themselves in each other's tails. Big slam into the middle, but there wasn't enough follow-up. The Suzu isn't even enough to keep them alive. Vega does get nitrogen though, and Vateful's taking magnesium. It's back and forth and scrappy, but when you have your tank alive, it's much easier to turn it from scrappy into an easily won fight. But they are still continuing to struggle as Mio just creates this space here. And what are you going to do? Throw your fists at them like boxing gloves? I don't think that's going to work.
Not quite. Not going to do the damage that C2W really needs to get back into things here. Now, Zero Recall they pushed it out a little bit, but now it's going to be a wait for the reinforcements to arrive. They're just kind of holding this high ground, want to deny C2W from taking this space themselves. Zero Recall also need to wait a little bit for Vateful to get into a position to go in for a hack, and then we're going to see this charge in from Tupac Punch.
Oh, Bastion's such a big hitbox, such a massive target for literally everything. Nitrogen is just not getting anything done on the Bastion. We're really hoping that that's not the only DPS character they can play, so that they have some room to pivot. Meanwhile, C2W are just trying to grasp to this wall to pivot themselves, but so much open damage from the coast side. And Nenox is punching Mio in the corner there like a bully, but the rest of the team comes like a bully hunter in the night and continuing to march forward. There's Zero Recall. They're going to get this butt scratch.
They sure are. They're going to get that forward spawn, and they have the EMP. They have the overclock ready to go here. C2W have been on the back foot pretty much this entire time, so they are building up two ultimates here, but definitely going to be on the lower end compared to Zero Recall. This Annihilation could make all the difference. Vega does not have the beat built up here, but with the EMP, you could essentially just catch everybody out here from C2W. They're playing quite together.
Yeah, Vega will be the first one to go down, so now you don't have that rotational speed for Tupac Punch, and they get caught out after their slam. Also, nice, no ults committed from them either. Vateful just trying to get an elimination, doesn't quite, it's just going to scamper backwards here and try and stay alive, but still, all 5 ultimates still ready from C2W.
And C2W won that fight out because they went first in it. If you're going to play the Lucio and the Juno, if you're going to throw 2 speeds into your composition, you really cannot afford to be playing second here. You cannot wait for Zero Recall to engage onto you. So finally, C2W going first. They are going to get that win. It is an ult fiesta coming online. It's going to be 10 ults across the board here. Jerry needs to be trying to play a little bit on an angle because they have to be aware that this EMP is going to be coming in soon.
Oh god, Nitrogen hanging like some wet cloves, but doesn't get dried out themselves, is able to back up, but no, the wind catches them in the end. Nenon takes Vega down, still alive in this fight, and pressuring the point here. Meanwhile, you see Tupac Punch diving back into the fight, but with that annihilation, Tupac Punch able to stay in it. Didn't block at any point there, so just took full brunt of those minigun turrets, and does go down. That means Tupac Punch still alive. Takes a meaty headshot there from Elo, who kind of puts pause to the push for the moment, but Zero Recall only use Cage. Both these teams being very ult conscious, well, until I literally say it.
Yeah, Nitrogen's gonna use the artillery strike here, but targeting the Lucio here, so Vega's gonna be able to dance around that fairly easily here, and Zero Recall just committing the Cage fight in that previous fight, so still so many ults to work with here. I keep harping on this EMP, but it really is a fight-winning ult, but still Zero Recall are gonna initiate with the Kitsune Rush instead.
Tupac Punch falls over in the face of the orbital ray. So much extra damage. Mio tries to take control on the coast side there. Can't quite get it done as there's already a position that was made by Zero Recall. And again, scrappy fights, chaotic fights. And even though the MP was used, it will go in the way of C2W.
Yeah, and that EMP did connect onto Jerry, but if you don't kill the Lucio, the beat is just going to come out later here, so that works out well for C2W. They hold on to this overclock from LO. Mio also holding on to the overclock here. A little bit of time for Zero Recall to get back in, but they gotta get the touch here because it's getting really close to that line.
Yeah, sometimes you just fall over, and that's it. That's the story. Form already used by Ninon, who's just going to reset very quickly. Didn't get the lead. They were pixels away from the lead, so Zero Recall still have that lead position.
Yeah, now C2W are going to get those forward spawns, though, as it's just now that Zero Recall are denying that. So I'm anticipating it is going to be a fight from behind here, and looks like Two-Pack-a-Punch also anticipating.
Ooh, yeah, maybe found yourself in the 9th layer of hell there, a little bit unprepared to make any packs to keep yourself alive. I think sometimes Two-Pack-a-Punch just goes a little bit too deep there. Mio just jumping in just to get the reset, as Vayful can do that themselves as they are invisible.
Yeah, it's easy to feel like you're going to be able to just stay alive with that Malga shout here, but when Two-Pack-a-Punch is going around these corners, you aren't going to have any LOS from your supports here. It is going to be the artillery strike out from Nitrogen, as C2W are looking to make this push to gain the lead.
Oh no, Two-Pack-a-Punch went so deep, and Elo, who's going to use the overclock, takes them out. Now lead taken by C2W, and Zero Recall are kind of in a snowbally position here. They need to be careful at how aggro Two-Pack-a-Punch goes here.
That's true. A coach of mine once said it's on the flex support to make sure that you keep the tank on a leash here. So Skugga gonna have to be real careful about letting Two-Pack-a-Punch know if he's outside of that LOS. Zero Recall are gonna have the cage fight and the EMP coming online, but this annihilation from Neon is gonna be so impactful when they're forcing a fight on the cart.
Just about keeps himself alive with the annihilation, but it's still so much damage. Mio will take them out, and you see them kind of like scuttering away, going back to the ant hive and seeing what they can do in the next fight.
Now, I do like that disengage for sure. It's quick and it's decisive from C2W, and that means that everybody is once again going to get this forward spawn, and we saw last time that led to a fight win here from C2W. They're taking a fight in this area kind of on the corner, and they're able to work with those corners.
Cage is ready, will be used, but the form was still up, takes a lot of damage, but the healing is there, and of course the self-heal also very clean, very decisive. However, 2 ults used to be able to make it so decisive.
Yeah, Zero Recall has zero patience to wait out this Bastion form from Nitrogen. It seems like it's the stomp in onto the Bastion form pretty much every time. So Vega and Skugga are really working overtime right now to make sure that the Smelga's staying alive in the fight. And to show for that, they do have both these support ults ready to go, but it is going to be support ults on the side of C2W coming online very soon as well.
Okay, nice use of the Kitsune Rush to push in there, as Nitrogen is going to be the first to go down. Also, very big target for those miniguns. Jerry almost gets hacked and virused out of the map, but keeps himself alive. 2 supports still ready from C2W.
Yeah, no, Vayful is going to be aware that this beat is online here. Usually, like you said, it's the second beat that's usually going to win out here, so we can see that Vayful's trying to force out that beat from Jerry.
Orbital Ray is going to come through, but so will the beat. And it is going to be Jerry's beat being the second beat. Nenon takes Two-Pack-a-Punch out of the fight, but it is back and forth in terms of the eliminations. However, again, it is Nenon who is still there as the tank for C2W, being able to control that space. They even have their ultimate if they want to stay alive here. They aren't going to need it, however, as it's going to be the form Self-Suzu used from Skugga, who are going to back up. 1 minute remaining.
Yeah, 1 minute's not a whole lot of time to work with here, but it's also not a whole lot of space that's needed for Zero Recall to get the lead. C2W in control of this, and you can see that they want to bait Zero Recall to walk in here. Elo has that overclock coming online, so C2W are more than happy to force a fight out in this open space.
Yeah, Elo is just itching to use the Q button. Is going to go aggro. Doesn't quite get the slide that they wanted, which means co-side is given up to Mio. Vayful is going to get Magnesium out of it. And with Nitrogen also down, it is going to be a bit scary. There is no support right now on the side of Zero Recall, however. So it needs to be all power, no breaks. They are pushing forward here. They are going to get the lead. This could turn things around. The touch is there from Jerry, but Jerry goes down. Nitrogen also, they've gotten the lead, which now means if C2W don't want to lose their second map of this season, they need to send it the whole other way back. Vega getting 2 eliminations here. Hold on a minute, C2W don't get a chance, as they've done it. Zero Recall have taken the second map off of C2W, and now they threaten to be the first team to beat C2W this match. is not as it was presented on paper.
Definitely not. What an impressive showing here, especially towards the end. It really did come to that last fight of the push map here where Zero Recall only had to push the bot just a tiny little bit, and C2W, like, they're being so clever. They have that overclock ready to go, but you don't get control of the coast, and you're not accounting for that EMP that's going to come in from Vateful, and it connects on to several members of C2W, and then it's the cage fight follow-up here, and unfortunately, C2W just did not have the space to have a nice, clean recontest before that bot pushed across the line here, so good stuff from Zero Recall to pick up their map pick. It was so desperately needed as, yeah, map number 5 on the table now for us.
And yes, Zero Recall did take their hand and steal the main toy away from C2W. I don't think Zero Recall were expecting what would happen with the tank going, switching role onto DPS and going onto Bastion, which I guess that tracks in the one. If you're going to be one-tricking certain heroes, if you're a Wrecking Ball player, why not also be a Bastion one-trick? Why not throw in a Junkrat in there as well, just to add to the pile?
You love to see it here. I do think that Nanon did a pretty good job over on the Ramatra. Definitely a lot of kind of like self-preservation and learning moments. I feel like I was watching the Ramatra learn as we went on. You pop the Annihilation, you're gonna have to hold block at some point, and we did see that kind of progress as the series went on. But when it comes to those push type maps, it really does come to the momentum factor, and just not a big enough lead being gained there for C2W, so they lose a couple of fights kind of back to back, and that's when Zero Recall really started building the momentum there. So that's just the way that these push maps go sometimes. So it's super fun to get to watch, a little painful if you're the one that is going to be the one losing there, but we know that we're going to have to go to a hybrid map next. It's the only map type left on the board here. C2W is going to be the ones to pick it.
And the Wrecking Ball ban no longer available. No longer available at all. And you think now, okay, well, you know what they're going to do. Nitrogen's going to go back onto tank. Going to go back onto Wrecking Ball. And you think, what can we do better? Now, obviously, Mauga had previously been banned, so Mauga cannot be banned also. However, there's a slight issue. To Pack a Punch goes in quite aggressive, and it doesn't always quite work. Whether that is not quite getting the resources there, so maybe a miscommunication, or just goes a bit too far compared to what the rest of the team were expecting. Either one of those is the issue, and they need to find the issue fast, because if they fix that, then their plays are going to look a lot more like the top 4 teams in this bracket.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's just reining in the small little mistakes that are being made, because we're up here in the open tier, so any little small mistake that you make is going to be punished by the other team. It's all about kind of being the team that doesn't make the first mistake a lot of these times, so C2W a little bit more clean with some of those engages, as we do know what hybrid map we're going to be going over to. It's no surprise to anybody. We had to see King's Row at some point, Gio.
Ah, good old merry England. May perhaps Hazard be coming down to yet again lame Scottish nationality. I'm not getting to that too much, don't worry. But yes, King's Row, shocker. Wrecking Ball loves this map. Back in the old days of Reinhardt Zarya or Reinhardt Diva, those days are long past. You can really get away with a lot of compositions on this map. This is one of the most played maps, which means it's one of the most studied maps, which means people know how to play different styles into it, and that Wrecking Ball, of course, is not going to shy away from it. Neither would Mauga, and you want to think, how best do you want to play in to King's Row, knowing the tank and lineup you're going to be up against? Zero have the advantage as well of the first ban. Who would you be banning at this point?
Well, the targets onto the DPS haven't really been I don't want to say working, but it's very hard to make a targeted ban onto a DPS that's going to be super impactful unless you're against a one-trick team. We haven't seen a support ban come out yet. I definitely do think that, especially here on King's Row, the supports are going to be one of the ones setting the tempo, but it's also very, very hard to not shoot yourself in the foot with a support ban. The Lucio, of course, is going to take a lot away from kind of those initial engagements here, but where you're up into this Wrecking Ball composition, honestly, I might be anticipating that there's going to be a little bit more of this poke support coming out for the side of C2W. So perhaps a Wuyong ban coming out or something of the sort to try and just dislodge the back line a little bit here, because I don't know that another DPS ban is really going to go in your favor.
Yeah, you could shoot yourself in the foot a little bit by going Kiriko as well, but that's actually going to be Tracer that they banned the last time, C2W banning it. Perhaps Zero were thinking, well, Tracer ban worked for us last time, actually, so why don't we just also ban it this map?
Yeah, it's a good point, and they did win off of the back of that Tracer ban. So, and it is, of course, going to be one. Right now, what Zero Recall are trying to do is really hone in on the follow-up damage that's coming through from that Wrecking Ball. You're not going to be able to ban out the Wrecking Ball again here, so taking the Tracer out of the mix, at least something that's going to take some of that pressure off, as C2W are going to ban out the Kiriko here. This, I think, is a very impactful ban for them, as Zero Recall have been leaning towards that kind of Lucio Kiriko backline.
Yeah, and it is a little bit of a self-sabotage as well, but again, if you're also ready to kind of play something different, then you're already in the better spot compared to the opponent when you ban that character. And the Kiriko, specifically, the timing of the Kitsune rushes have been very strong. The Suzus as well to keep alive in those dives, very strong. Now you don't have the Suzu. What do you use to keep the backline or the squishies alive when it's a pile drive right onto your head?
Yeah, it's a good point, right? Usually when we see the Kiriko banned out, it is the flex support moving over onto that Baptiste, especially where we are heading into King's Row. You can play the Lucio Bap if you are going to play kind of a more rush style composition, but I did already mention it, you can also go for a bit more of kind of that poke backline. So Lucio Wuyong not necessarily getting a whole lot of playtime here, but I have been seeing some Iari Bap. So where C2W seems to be playing a little bit more of these kind of like quirky comps working around the Wrecking Ball, the Bap might not be as impactful, but I could potentially see the Iari coming through, because you are trying to have a hero that's going to be able to synergize a little bit with this Wrecking Ball, and where Iari is that kind of hit scan support. If you find somebody that gets popped up into the air, you do have an opportunity to hit them with some of that damage here. So we'll have to see what C2W is thinking about here. I also think it's worth mentioning that C2W did opt to ban second here, because that's really interesting. They're waiting to see what Zero Recall is thinking, and then they're going to get the read off of that. So that shows, I think, a lot of confidence coming into map number 5.
Oh yeah, it's definitely confidence, and I think the confidence comes from knowing, well, they banned Wrecking Ball already, so like, what other damage could they potentially do? I'm not falling for it this time to Pack Punch. I know you're going to swap off of Winston. I'm not getting my heart into a place of hope. But again, this is a very expected DPS line. The back line is curious. So obviously you want to be able to kind of defend against the dives with the Brig, but Brig Bap, you don't often see this.
I don't like it. I'm not going to lie to you, Gio. I don't like the Brig here, especially where, you've been seeing the Echo and the Sojourn from C2W. You don't have the Tracer, so Vega is going to have his shield melted down very, very quickly here. And although, yes, you're going to be able to get the whip shot out on Nitrogen, there are 4 other members on the team here for the side of C2W. I really do think that the Lucio would have worked a little bit better here, but oh my goodness, you already lose Faithful. C2W are making a push towards this first point.
Yeah, and right up there onto the high ground, forcing them out. The Sigma this time, which was banned out on circuit, perhaps because of the accretion disruption, now back in play. Elo finds Mio, and the DPS line of Zero Recall have just found themselves in places where they don't want to be, and oh my lord, they have capped with just under 6 minutes on the bank now, rolling into second. Zero Recall, they need to get a grasp of what's happening right now, because they just continue to get pushed onto as Nitrogen is in their backline.
All right, a little bit of stabilization here from Zero Recall. Crucially, everybody is at this forward spawn here. You have a lot of this long-distance damage, and fortunately for Zero Recall, the pace that was being set by C2W meant that you just didn't have enough time to get this poke damage in here. But now you have a choke point to work in your favor here if you're Zero Recall, so it's all about just spamming this choke point down and hoping you're going to find a pick.
Ah, well, Mayo does find one onto Nanon, who was peeking their head out of that window. That Baptiste of Scoggin was so low HP, just got around the corner before Elo could finish them off. Nitrogen also very low health also. And, of course, they've got the shield to play around this Disruptor Orb of Jerry, but that Zenyatta has been a big pain in their backside before on Circa. Accretion going to flatten Elo, and of course that Immortality Field will keep them alive here. And the Overclock right into them. They've already used their Immortality Field. If they can get that off the field, well, they need to back up anyway. The damage hasn't been done, but the positional damage is there. But Mio sneakily takes them out. All stickies just landed onto Mio, who is just staying alive at the grace of Scuggin, hitting all of the heals needed. Nitrogen goes there to kind of follow up, and Neon is just going to leave Nitrogen there as they don't quite get what they wanted.
No, Zero Recall have withstood that engagement here, so good job from them as they build up 5 ults to show for it as well. Now, there is one still walking back from spawn here, so C2W are going to take advantage of that.
Ooh, yeah, Skug and Vega gone. Now, the Flux could turn the tide, but with both supports gone, Tobacco Punch has to run back here. There's no sustain, and Vayful doesn't go down without a fight, to be fair, but for some reason Tobacco Punch finds himself touching the point where their backline isn't quite here. They don't have that support. Tobacco Punch could go down the moment that Scuggin gets back, but I think Scuggin has just got the sideline here. Going to open up the window and immediately takes down Magnesium. And now C2W are the team on the back foot.
Yeah, this is a good stabilization again here from Zero Recall. They forced a lot of ultimates out of C2W as well, so it is going to be both those support ults to work with here. Now, of course, the amplification matrix is really fantastic at kind of creating the space, especially here on Streets phase, where you have so many corners to kind of work around. It's just about getting that placement, and you'll be able to force a disengage from Zero Recall, but Zero Recall have these ults to work with. This rally from Vega is going to allow for a lot of presence on the point, and C2W with this composition don't really have a lot of point presence to work with. It's really about finding those opening picks and then pushing the point.
Yeah, well, Fateful is going to go down as an opening pick. The rally comes up, but what's more powerful than a rally? That is the Zen healing of the Transcendence. Put you into that trance state, but Mio with 150 energy on their overclock, losing at the ultimate to try and get some value. Immortality Field pop because of it. Elo will find Vega, and there goes Mio also as C2W increase the pressure and push forward. But to be fair to Zero Recall, that is quite a lot of time that they drained.
Yeah, I think that there was, almost 6 minutes on the clock here for C2W moving into that second Streets phase. You can see the Nitrogen pushing forward, looking for a little more. We'll be happy enough to get the lamp out here. Elo, though, a pick. It's not going to result in a whole lot here for the side of Zero Recall, but they are at least going to be able to get Vapeful up onto this high ground. You have the Bola shot ready to go here, but now C2W have cycled back over. They're going to have those TPS ults. Oh, no, Ninon down to the Omnix.
Yeah, and the Bola as well. Vapeful showing why you saw Freya get banned in the first map of the series, and the amount of damage that they're just able to do with it. I think this is the reason why they didn't want Tracer. They didn't want to have Vapeful need to play the Tracer to match. They wanted Vapeful to just be able to play that Freya into an overclock, though. Going to be difficult. The copy goes on to the Sigma, potentially looking for a Flux of their own, but the actual core Sigma will Flux. Immortality Field keeps Magnesium alive. There's the Accretion, blocks the fake block, and now Mio on the Widow. Legendary choice to go on to Widowmaker here on third point of Kings.
Yeah, I do like it. You're going to be able to get up onto that high ground a lot. Now, this is, again, a lot of this, like, long-range damage here for Zero Recall, so it really is important to control this high ground to deny Nitrogen from really pressuring out your DPS here. It's going to be actually the window committed here from Scuggin, but it looks like C2W is going to be able to more or less kite their way out of that one.
Yeah, meanwhile, Nitrogen just turned the washing machine on and Scuggin got caught up in it. That cycle just not able to be broken. They have to be careful, especially to back a punch, that they only have the brig healing, and they are going to go down right. Oh, the timing with Rally. Oh, just not there. And now C2W, they're in a very strong spot ult-wise.
Yeah, right. Both these support ultimates. I mean, and this, when the cart gets to this point, your supports are going to be able to just hop off the cart. They're going to be able to play further back, and to have these ults to work with as your tank just pushes the payload forward, going to be fantastic here. Mio swapped over onto the soldier here, so looking to try and get an angle and put some pressure on those supports.
Oh my god, to back a punch with the Disruptor Orb and the window just cannot touch. It's going to have to be the brig, but that's going to be so much damage. You need to be on the point, but the pressure is at such a large heat right now. You just cannot do it without falling down. And that's a minute 10 on the board for C2W. But I gotta say it. The fact that there was 6 minutes rolling into second and only a minute 10 left once they completed the map, that's a very decent dragging out of the map by Zero Recall to a point where it's at least reasonable.
Yes, I totally agree with you. It was a solid defense from Zero Recall, barring that first point of King's Row here. I like the swaps on third point. Unfortunately, if you don't have the space to work with, you're not going to be able to get as much value from the Widowmaker and the Freya as you'd really like. And Nitrogen on that Wrecking Ball just constantly taking space away from Zero Recall here. So we are going to have C2W move over onto the defense here, and it is still going to be that Wrecking Ball, looking like actually same composition here. So this Zen BAP backline, not a whole lot of kind of sustain between the two of them, but it is this, it's a greedy backline here. So you're looking to get Jerry and Magnesium kind of set up on the high ground, and you're playing for these Discord orbs. We saw how disruptive those Discord orbs were for Zero Recall over on Circuit. So definitely, if you allow Jerry to stay alive in these fights, the longer that they go on, the more value that you're going to end up with from this Discord. And all right, I mean, it's like our wishes have been granted here, Gio. No, just kidding. Of course they haven't. Why would they ever be granted? But it is a Widowmaker Hanzo here, so it's fun to at least get to see some arrows flying here on King's Row.
Yeah, it's all about who can click the heads, and even the fact that Hanzo's storm arrows are there, you can use that against the ball, but yeah, just getting booped around. That little leap that Hanzo has, not very large movement, is it? Compared to someone like an Echo who can just get in and out and drop you with the stickies. Two back punches, just gonna find a way onto the point, pressure it a little bit, force Nitrogen to play with them rather than disrupting the backline, as Nitrogen actually speeds off to do just that. Trying to shoot at this annoying birdie in the sky that is Nanon, but can't quite get it. Very hard to do so with the orbs of that Sigma, but meanwhile the rest, as you recall, have just kind of fallen apart.
Yeah, it's hard to set yourself up on this point, even if you have the pressure from the Widowmaker and the Hanzo, because C2W are still controlling these angles. You have your support set up on the high ground. A nice headshot there from Mio, and Zero Recall are going to have kind of a slight advantage when it comes to this respawn, as Vapeful's going to swap over onto the Sombra as well. Anything to try and shut down Nitrogen on this Wrecking Ball.
As Nitrogen continues to try and force out Vapeful, who could try and get out, but also puts Nitrogen at a critical level, who needs to not fight that too hard, but comes back for seconds, and it's the seconds that does it. Now for the Wrecking Ball, this team's not going to really have a good opportunity of a retouch until the Wrecking Ball's back, and of course if Vapeful wants to use that time to try and take out the Zenyatta, just about would have done it if it wasn't for the dastardly rest of the team being there, and that third point is capped right as Nitrogen touches it, so Nitrogen just a little bit too slow, and 4 minutes 30 rolling into second point.
Still a
pretty good time bank here for Zero Recall. Definitely not as flashy as what C2W had, but it is going to be something to work with here. A little scuffle on the side as C2W, I do not believe they have all 5 members here, and with Jerry gone, they definitely don't, so that Discord orb not going to be a problem here for Zero Recall for at least a little bit.
Hazard back on the map, the Scotsman in London, and a big retreat. Again, it's about placing that wall, right, to try and disrupt. And with the hack as well, they're just going fully anti-Wrecking Ball. They do not want to play against that Wrecking Ball at all.
Yeah, I agree, and they're going to have the rally ready to go as well, so Vega's going to help Zero Recall kind of stabilize for this engagement that comes through from C2W. The Lamp Force out already here for Magnesium, so Zero Recall have an opportunity to really start pushing forward here with some of these ults.
Yes, they can, and with the Immortality gone, they know there's a very, very vulnerable backline, but they gotta know that that Transcendence is up close. Meanwhile, the non in the back causing a lot of disruption. They can do that because of the ultimates. They can just get a second life and a second Immortality field as well.
Jerry giving a little kick to the head of Tupac Punch there as it is going to be C2W stabilizing here, maybe fighting their demons as they look around for Vateful. Still, Zero Recall didn't commit anything into that, so there are going to be some big ults here, but with only the duplicate out from C2W, Jerry's Transcendence alone is going to be able to shut down one of these ults.
Transcendence is perfectly timed. There was almost a moment where they might have been around the corner and not been able to use it. That's a freeway stun there from the rally, which is going to be able to follow up from the damage done that couldn't be because of the Transcendence. Now just a little bit of mind clearing there. Nitrogen comes back to try and see if they could nudge out a pick, but the more they slow down the advance, the better it is, and right now it's been slowed down quite considerably.
Yeah, Vega's making me eat my words for saying that I didn't like the Brigida here. Excellently timed rally there. Every ult except for that amplification matrix committed from Zero Recall into it. But if you're going to have an ultimate for this one long kind of sightline into this second point cap, having the amplification matrix is a good one to work with. However, C2W are going to have an amplification matrix of their own to work with. And they have that overclock, but being down Neon, I mean, that might be it for your C2W here.
Yeah, perfect time window, but it's the other window that gets the value. My god, Elo taking off the head of their counterpart and Tupac Punch as C2W utilized the window of Magnesium to much better effect.
Yeah, having the combo of that overclock is just going to beat out a flat-out window here from Zero Recall, and it's going to be a little pressure put out by Nitrogen, who's now hanging around the spawn here. It's about, you mentioned it before, a lot of this is about the attention that is being taken away from Zero Recall. As you can see that they're trying to ignore it. They're trying to just walk forward and find these picks.
Well, Elo goes down, so Zero Recall have an opportunity here. Downpour is going to lock in place some of those members as Neron has to scurry on back there to try and stay alive, but you can't hide from Tupac Punch. They will secure third, but not with as much time, about a minute less than C2W had.
Yeah, that's right, and crucially, Zero Recall really do need to finish out this map with some time in the bank here. They would love to have more time than C2W, but as long as it's not overtime, they should be alright with that. Tupac Punch trying to control this high ground, but so much pressure being put onto this Hazard, somehow still managing to hold his ground.
Yeah, still staying alive there, at the grace of their backline also. Disruptor Orb going to try and muck things up as Skokin going to get forced out of that area. Neron uses that more for the fact of staying alive, but to be fair, a very quickly built EMP here could just be a nice fight win. Is going to get it. Backline is going to get hacked up. Can't quite follow up into Sombra form, but Nitrogen's there on the ball to be the cleanup.
Ooh, yeah, you've been locked in a room with the Hazard. Nope, it's going to be a quick retreat here from the Wrecking Ball, as you can see. Ooh, unfortunately for Vateful, the team is aware of where he's positioned here, but aren't able to follow up on it, and now it's going to be the EMP online here for Zero Recall. We'll see if Jerry can once again be the savior that C2W needs in the face of this ultimate.
They gotta know Transcendence is ready. Jerry has to be a target here. EMP could just get nothing done if that's the case. Tupac Punch, though, just falls over, and with a minute remaining, Elo is just punching that damage into them, making them feel the pain.
Elo has been so consistent in getting value from these overclocks, and I'm pretty sure he's aware of it here. C2W are going to get themselves set up on this high ground here, so it's all about burning the time off the clock here. Finding some stagger kills would be massive for C2W.
And the immortality field, which means that backline is in a lot of pain. See the Baptiste seem to go back into the point, where meanwhile 2 Pack-a-Punches are below half health. Main's going to separate the team again as 2 Pack-a-Punch finds himself in a world of hurt. The damage isn't there to really take them out as they have the block. The non will take out Vateful, and yeah, C2W are on the aggressive streak here.
Yeah, you can see just how split Zero Recall is right now, and Nitrogen really trying to make the best of that. It is going to be the Amplification Matrix popped out here, but with only 10 seconds, Zero Recall needs somebody to touch this point.
I don't think we will be seeing anyone. Hazard just about touches, actually, to be fair. But how much can we actually turn this into anything? To Pack-a-Punch is desperately trying to stay alive, bring down the spikes, but it's not enough. Soldier of Mio kind of jogging into battle, but it's not enough as C2W stop Zero Recall from the upset and continue to be undefeated, although not without some bruises.
I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. Coming into this, you know, we're hyping up C2W. They have not lost a single match that they've played. All the matches have been 3-0s. And we came into this, we were looking at the leaderboard, and you know, there's a bit of a gap that was coming in between these two teams. So we weren't really sure how much of a fight Zero Recall was really going to be able to put up against C2W. We were just really saying, you know, like, you'd like to get one map, you'd like to make it not a 3-0, and Zero Recall definitely not making it a 3-0 for the side of C2W. Very impressed with the amount of fight that Zero Recall were able to give here to C2W, doubling the amount of maps that C2W have lost in this season, but unfortunately, just not going to be enough to topple this undefeated team.
Yeah, which means they continue to secure their place in the top 3 teams, which are all undefeated in 4-0. However, they do look like a bit of the outlier, because while the other 2 teams have lost 1 map, C2W have now lost 2 maps. So that kind of situates them to continue to stay strong in 3rd place. But they don't move up. Of course, they would have had the chance if they 3-0'd this to be in number 1. But at the end of the day, how much does it really matter? As long as you're in the top 4, it's about how you perform in the mid-season, which is the next step for this team and the other teams in the top 4. And it's all about getting those extra points towards the playoffs and securing a nice cushy spot for the final playoffs. But alas, C2W continue to be strong.
All right, they sure do, and we are going to get an opportunity to have a little chat with somebody from C2W, so we're going to throw it over to a quick break. We're going to get somebody from the winning team in to have a little interview with them, so don't go anywhere. We will see what's on C2W's minds just after this.
C2W continue to be undefeated here, one of the only 3 teams in their group being undefeated. However, it wasn't without some struggle in this particular match. We've got 2 of the members of the team with us today. We have Magnesium and Nanon. Thank you for both joining us today.
You're welcome.
I suppose the first question might be a bit of an obvious one. This was the first match where you've dropped maps. Looking at the leaderboard, Zero Recall were a bit on the lower side versus you being higher up. Was this a bit of a shock to you guys at how Zero Recall were able to take maps from you today?
Linux, you can talk to them.
We did not play any warm-up before it, so that was a bit like expected to drop some maps, and that's how.
Yep, that's fair. Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to lead into that a little bit as well. So
we were seeing that Wrecking Ball comp come out from you guys for the vast majority of the series here. And of course, when the Wrecking Ball got banned out, Nina, we actually saw you move over onto the tank. So I'm wondering, is that something that you guys have been leading towards when that Wrecking Ball gets banned out? Is that you make that role swap?
Yes, we have been scrimming when ball is banned. We play me as a tank, and we play with Bastion Sword, and anything works.
I love it. It definitely was really fun to watch, and something we don't necessarily always get to see players make these role swaps and still put up such a really impressive showing. So that was fun to watch. Magnesium, so you were of course in the support line here for the side of C2W. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you guys have been experimenting with these new support heroes?
First thing, I'm not a support main. Second, I was playing with 200 ping. Like my Wi-Fi is literally shitting, and I can't play. That's why I was just throwing with my team.
You got put on the support role for this map.
Yeah, because no one can play, and I just Ninox told me to come, and I'm here. That's why I'm here.
Oh my gosh! Well, fantastic showing. So if we were watching you guys, usually, what role would you be playing, Magnesium?
Maybe DPS.
Okay.
Felix DPS.
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay, well that sort of makes sense why you guys drop maps today. No warm-ups, Magnesium and support, 200 ping. A picture is starting to be painted. Outside of CGL, does this team play together? You mentioned scrims. Are you in any other leagues, or are you in Face It?
Yes, we played Face It in advance. Only Face It.
Nice. So how long has this team been together then?
Like 6 months, something like that.
Okay. That's like a decent amount of time, and you can see the synergies there, even if people are changing roles and stuff like that. But the last question is: you have any shout-outs or call-outs you'd like to make on stream?
Can I say it with Arabic language, or you want it with English?
No, if you want to do it in Arabic, yeah, sure.
Go for it.
First, عزوز والله لا يكسر عينك. ثاني شيء يا نيتروجين وإيلو وجيري كلكم زبري ما حد يعرف ينام. That mean is like the message of talking with my team about the chemistry, and first thing I said about nitrogen because we are a brother. That's why we my names and him like magnesium and nitrogen.
Oh,
that's
of course. Right. Oh, that's sick. That's very sick.
That's all.
Yeah, no, that's very good, and the chemistry is felt in both the names and the team. But thank you guys for joining us. We'll let you get back to your team to celebrate, and good luck as well going into the mid-season.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
I gotta say, Gio, if I played on a team with my brother, there would be zero synergy and there would be a lot of fighting. So, mad respect to Nitrogen and Magnesium for making that work and for looking so in sync.
I could play with my brother, but I don't think CGL do a bronze tier, so I can't really do that. And that is shade thrown. But no, that's great. It's good to hear. All of the members of that team are Saudi as well, so they're all from the same region, the same country, which you don't see too often. Sometimes you'll see people from Saudi like to stay together, people from France like to stay together. Sometimes you'll have a fully British team, but usually it's a bit more of a mix in EU. So there's also that synergy of all being from the same region, so it's very nice to see. But alas, from EU, that is us today. Didn't quite cover the match we were expecting, but I think a little 5 map, why not? Let's do some 5 maps. This definitely on paper was not going to be a 5 mapper, but hey, when is it ever?
No, I love a surprise here, so a pivot here, and it really did work out well. We got to see a banger of a match, so unfortunate that we didn't go as planned, but you know what, sometimes there's other paths to be taken here. So yeah, that is going to be it for EU tonight. I believe there is no, I don't believe there is an NA match actually for tonight. So this is all of the Overwatch that you're gonna get from CGL for today, so it's a good thing that it was a banger of a match.
Yeah, no CGL to watch, so you can kick back and watch the Elimination Chamber tonight if you are a wrestling fan like myself. That's what I'll be staying up to do, instead of being responsible. But hey, it is a Saturday nonetheless. But what exciting time, CGL. It's the pivot time. It's the mid-seasons on the horizon. And yes, it doesn't mean you win, but those points can mean so much, because when you get to the playoffs, there's going to be more teams in the playoffs, so your actual position is going to matter a lot more. You don't just want to be top 4 or top 8, you want to be at the top so you can maybe get a cushy bye and watch the teams play before you get to play, get some scouting done. And of course, now that we're kind of getting more comfortable with these 5 new heroes, it's starting to look towards the mid-season of the season where there might be some adjustments, but already we're seeing spots of where these new heroes are coming in, and it's a very exciting time. But my name's been Gio. I've been casting for you today alongside Rain. Thank you to Head Rammer for producing, and Honeybee for being our eyes in the skies. And that is us going to be buzzing off, so don't forget to laugh loud and love yourself, folks. Good night.